years. The position of the sun on the day of the vernal equinox is presently in the constellation of Pisces, near the border of Aquarius, which is the next age. The age of the ram and the bull predate the age of Pisces and are present in these ancient texts and even referenced by ancient historians, such as Pliny the Elder, Herodotus the Chaldean, and Diodorus of Sicily.
Yo, it's crazy how our zodiac signs fit into this shit. And I wonder why our that's gonna be another live. Shorty's gonna do another live. I hope I get people on that live, talking about our zodiac signs and representations and stuff like that, the meanings and much more.
The veneration of the solstices was also adopted by the Greeks from the ancient Mesopotamian and Pelasgians. Various ancient Greek calendars, such as the Attic calendar, show similar lunar cycles and start the New Year's during the spring rather than the winter, which is what the Babylonians and Sumerians also did. It is not until Julius Caesar adopts the solar calendar from the Egyptians in the 1st century BCE that this was changed. The Greek zodiac incorporates many elements from the Babylonian zodiac. For example, Aries is associated with the ram, and Taurus with the bull, Leo with the lion, and having 12 divisions, such as the Babylonians. This allotment of the heavens.
But it's not 12 divisions. I'm going to pause it right here, and I'm not going to agree with him because I've done my research, and I've seen the old templates, I've seen the calendars, I've seen all that. It was 13.
As a calendar for measuring time plays into the base 60 counting system that was established by the Sumerians and adopted by the Greeks, and is still universally used in the world today. Scholars like Jean-Pierre Vernat and Walter Burkett have examined the shared motifs and narrative patterns between ancient Near Eastern mythologies, Sumerian, Babylonian, and Greek. They explore the archetypal themes and symbols that appear across different mythologies and potential cultural connections that could have contributed to these similarities. These scholars argue that the ancient civilizations had contact and cultural exchanges, which could have led to the dissemination and adaptation of mythological ideas. They propose that certain mythological motifs or figures might have been shared or influenced one another. The Greeks adopted and incorporated many of these Babylonian constellations into their own zodiac system.
So where are these guys? In one part of the Bible, it says that God will return, right? And allegedly, it gave a time and everything. And if I think I did a live on this. I'm not sure if I did. I think I did. But if you do your math, it should be coming soon. Like, it should be arriving soon, between 2024, 2025, allegedly. And around this time, something should be happening too. But it's allegedly.
The constellation Taurus, who represents the bull, is associated with the divine bull that plays a significant role in Babylonian mythology, but later including the story of Zeus and Europa. Leo, the constellation of the lion, is also a Babylonian constellation, associated with the Nemean lion, a formidable beast in Greek mythology that Heracles defeats in one of his 12 labors.
Ooh. I'm undefeatable. Leo, baby.
Scorpius represents the scorpion, recognized by the Babylonians. Scorpius is the one that stings Orion, leading to his death. The Babylonians knew this myth as the shepherd of Anu, the heavenly shepherd in the late Bronze Age, associated with the constellation of Anu, the god of the heavenly realms that I've mentioned. Egyptians associated with this constellation Osiris. Orion was identified with Unas, the last pharaoh of the 5th dynasty, who is said to have eaten the flesh of his enemies and devoured the gods to become great and bring inheritance of his power. According to this myth, Unas travels through the sky to become the star Orion. This myth passed down from the Sumerians, from the constellation Ur-Inanna, Orion.
So what he's trying to say is that these stars that are up there in the sky are basically the gods?
Meaning the light of heaven, Ur-Anu. The name of the Taurus constellation was Gud-Anu, the bowl of heaven. These are brought down from the Hittites in the realm of Anatolia, passed down to the Ionians, and then eventually passed to the Greeks. And the Scorpius constellation that stings Orion becomes one of the 12 Greek constellations. Aquarius, the constellation, is the water bearer, also has its roots in Babylonian astronomy. It is associated with the god Ea, or Enki, the Sumerian god of wisdom and water, who pours forth life-giving waters. The Greeks later incorporated this.
So basically, what he's also trying to say is that each and every one of our horoscopes is associated to a god. It has nothing to do with our behaviors. Well, it might do with their behaviors and shit, but could that be why our inner spirits are the way they are, the behavior and stuff? Listen, I'm just curious. I'm asking questions.
Constellation into their zodiac as Aquarius, the water bearer. Overall, these Greek adoptions of Babylonian constellations demonstrates the influence and exchange of astronomical knowledge between ancient civilizations. The merging of different celestial traditions helped shape the development of the Greek zodiac and all the other constellations that surround the zodiac. In Persian mythology, Ahura Mazda, the Zoroastrian deity, like Anu, is also considered powerful and significant and the creator of heaven and earth. Ahura Mazda is depicted almost identical like Anu in his rock carvings, both shown with wings in the sky. Ahura Mazda is the supreme god of Zoroastrianism, represents the forces of good, light, and truth, wisdom, creation, moral cosmic order. These similarities between Sumerian Anu and Persian Ahura Mazda lie in their roles as the supreme deities within their respective pantheons. Both Anu and Ahura Mazda are regarded as the highest ranking gods. They occupy a position of supreme authority and rulership. Ahura Mazda, associated with the celestial realm, is described as the titan of wisdom, maintains the cosmic order, upholds.
He said celestial, so they talking about good and bad. See, the more I read, the more I watch these videos, the more I understand, the more I get it. Have a good day, baby. Have a good day.
Holding divine laws that govern the universe, just as Anu does. And they are depicted as wise and just figures who ensure harmony and stability of the world. Later on, the god Allah, the one and only true god of Islam, takes on this role and is known as the Merciful One, a title given to Ahura Mazda. Enki, the Sumerian god, and Prometheus, a figure of Greek mythology, share certain similarities in their roles and actions. Both Enki and Prometheus are depicted as benefactors of humanity, actively involved in creation and advancement of human civilization, credited with bestowing knowledge and gifts upon humans for their betterment. Both Enki and Prometheus engage in acts of theft or deception to obtain sacred knowledge or resource from the divine realm. Enki in Sumerian mythology steals the divine decrees that govern various aspects of civilization. Prometheus in Greek mythology steals.
This kind of helps me understand a little more about the roles and why they was at war up there. This is
fire from the gods and gives it to humanity. Both Enki and Prometheus associated with teaching and empowering humanity against the will of other gods. Enki is known for giving knowledge and skills to humans, including agriculture, craftsmanship, and arts. Prometheus, through the gift of fire, enables human progress, providing them with the.
So he's a god that but then why would the God that created mankind, was he the only one that created us? Is my biggest question. It's one of my biggest questions. Let me say like that. That more than one God have a hand in making mankind.
The means to survive, metallurgy, alchemy, medicine, technology, and advancement of civilization. Both Enki and Prometheus challenge divine authority and face repercussions for their actions, willing to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of humankind. Enki's actions in bestowing knowledge and power to humans.
So those are two gods that sacrifice themselves for mankind. See, we've been lost our whole lives.
Can be seen as defying the established divine order laid down by Anu, while Prometheus, acts of stealing fire and sharing it with humanity, defies the will of the Olympians and leads to his punishment. Both have the symbolism of sacrifice for the sake of humanity. Enki willingly sacrifices himself to heal the world and restore order. Prometheus endures eternal punishment for his actions, but does so in defiance of the gods' unjust treatment of humans. Both Enki and Prometheus are associated with saving humanity from a catastrophic flood in their respective myths. In the Sumerian story, known as the Eridu Genesis, which tells how Enki, the god of wisdom and water, warns a man named Ziostra about an impending flood. Enki advises Ziostra to build a large boat similar to the biblical Noah's Ark and gather various living creatures to preserve them. When the flood arrives, Enki helps Zuostra and his family survive by sealing the door of the boat and protecting them from the wrath of the gods. After the flood subsides, Enki grants him eternal life, making him the last survivor of the flood. Prometheus plays that role in the story of Deucalion and Pyrrha, who are Greek equivalents of Noah and his wife. According to the Greek flood myth, Zeus, like Enlil, decides to destroy humanity with a flood due to their wickedness. However, Prometheus, who is known for his cunning and sympathy for humans, warns his son Deucalion about this impending catastrophe. Following Prometheus's guidance, Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha build an ark and survive the flood. After the flood waters recede, Deucalion and Pyrrha repopulate the earth by throwing stones.
All these gods came about after Christ. I mean, I'm not after Christ, after Noah. That's crazy. These guys were after Noah. So how did God get defeated himself?
Over their shoulders, which magically transform into human beings. This myth is also reflected in the story of Manu, the first man who survives the flood in Hindu mythology, and all three of these myths predate the story of Noah.
Oh, it's before Noah.
The goddess Ishtar, a prominent figure in ancient Mesopotamian mythology, was indeed adopted by different cultures under different names and associations. The Greeks identified Ishtar with their own goddess Aphrodite and referred to her as Venus, while the Egyptians associated her with the goddess Isis. Ishtar was a powerful goddess in Mesopotamian mythology, associated with love, beauty, fertility, and war. When the Greeks encountered the worship of Ishtar during their interactions with the Near East, they found similarities between Ishtar and their own goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. The attributes and aspects of Ishtar were thus assimilated into the Greek pantheon, and she came to be known as the morning star, Venus, derived from the Roman counterpart of Aphrodite. Ishtar's associations with love, desire, and femininity were reflected in the characterization of Venus as the goddess of love and beauty in Roman and Greek mythology. The Egyptians encountered the worship of Ishtar during their interactions with Mesopotamia and recognized the same parallels between Ishtar and Isis. Both the goddesses are associated with feminine powers, fertility.
For anybody that's confused, this is way before Noah and all of them.
The protection of their pantheons. The Egyptians, known for incorporating deities from various cultures into their religious beliefs, assimilated Ishtar's characteristics and worship into their own existing pantheon, identifying her with the goddess Isis. The merging of Ishtar and Isis led to shared attributes and associations regarding fertility, motherhood, and magic. These cross-cultural associations and adoptions of deities often occurred through cultural exchanges, trade, conquest, and cultural diffusion. Different ancient civilizations would encounter and incorporate elements of other mythologies into their own religious beliefs, finding commonalities or aligning existing deities, synchronizing with foreign ones to bridge the gap between cultures and create religious continuity.
EVE Online is a vast...
Isis, the goddess of magic, fertility, and motherhood. Her story revolves around her husband Osiris, who was murdered by his brother Set out of jealousy. Isis embarks on a quest to find the scattered body parts of Osiris and reassembles them, using her own magical powers to revive him temporarily. Through her love, devotion, and magical prowess, Isis is able to conceive a child with Osiris named Horus, who goes on to avenge his father's death and become a prominent deity himself. Isis is revered for her role in preserving the life and lineage of Osiris and ensuring his resurrection in the afterlife. In Mesopotamian mythology, the story of Ishtar and her husband Tammuz reflects a cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Like Osiris, Tammuz dies and descends into the underworld, causing Ishtar to mourn his loss and descend into the realm of the dead to rescue him. During her journey, the earth becomes barren and lifeless. Eventually, Ishtar negotiates with the gods of the underworld and successfully brings Tammuz back to life, restoring fertility and vitality.
They say the gods of the underworld. So they got the underworld, they got the three heavens. What does Earth lie in? Are we a part of the three? Are we already in heaven? Is a question that I have. And if anything happens, we go to hell. Are we supposed to make the best of it here? That's a good question, because when we die with nothing. Allegedly, our spirits move on, right?
Reality to the world. This myth symbolizes the changing seasons and cyclical nature of life and death. Both Isis and Ishtar are associated with saving their husbands from death. Isis actively seeks to resurrect Osiris and ensures the continuation of his legacy through their son Horus. Ishtar's descent into the underworld saves Tammuz, which represents the restoration of life and fertility in the natural world in springtime.
And what's crazy is that these gods and goddesses look just like us.
Demeter, the grain goddess central to the Eleusinian mysteries, along with Dionysus, is also associated with fertility, agriculture, and the cycles of nature. Like Ishtar and Dumuzi, Demeter is primarily known for her role in ensuring the fertility of the earth, the growth of the crops, and the abundance of the harvest.
Oh, so she's what we know as Mother Nature.
Ishtar is also associated with the fertility of the land and considered a patroness of agriculture. Both goddesses have associations with motherhood. Demeter is the mother of Persephone, and her grief over Persephone's abduction by Hades is central to the myth of the changing seasons. Ishtar is also associated with motherhood and has been depicted as a nurturing and protective figure. Life, death, and rebirth. Demeter and Ishtar are both connected to the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Demeter's grief over the loss of her daughter Persephone leads to the barrenness of the earth in the winter, symbolizing the dormant period of plant life. Ishtar's descent into the underworld to rescue her husband Tammuz is a story of planting the seeds into the ground.
Each god has a part to do with with Earth. These two, I guess, are what we know as Mother Nature. They both have a role to play: winter, summer, spring, and fall. Right? One has to do with how cold it is. One has to do with how hot it is. Good and evil.
That come up as new life. The story of death and rebirth. The old plant that's dying gives up its seeds into the ground. The seeds go into the underworld and rise up again, representing the cyclical nature of life and the changing seasons.
Basically, as what we know, what is known in the Bible as the Matrix, and not the Matrix, the movie, as y'all know. If y'all go search it up and research it up in the Bible, they talk about the Matrix, and it's crazy. Like, for those of y'all that be like, "No, you bullshit." No, man, go look it up. Like, if you really sit down and start reading the Bible, it is one interesting book to read.
These similarities may reflect broader patterns and themes found in ancient mythologies, where different cultures sought to explain and celebrate the natural world for its cycles through the respective deities. The connections between Demeter and Ishtar may arise from these shared mythological motifs, rather than from direct cultural or historical influence. A recent discovery shows a direct connection between Ishtar and the goddess Venus. In June of 2014, Isis captured Mosul and seeded its influence across the surrounding area and set out to systematically destroy the archaeological site of the Temple of Ishtar at Nimrud, demolishing the ruins with sledgehammers, bombs, and diggers. Thankfully, though, archaeologists have recently been able to return to the site at Nimrud. Early this year, archaeologists continued work on the Temple of Ishtar, which burned when Nimrud was sacked by an invading army in 612 BCE. Chief among their finds was a fragment of large stone monument that depicts the goddess Ishtar inside an 8-pointed star symbol. Dr. Michael Dante says, "Our greatest find this season was a spectacular fragment from the stone stele that shows the goddess Ishtar inside a star symbol. This is the first unequivocal depiction of the goddess Ishtar Sharat Nefi, a divine aspect of the goddess associated with the rising of the planet Venus, the morning star, to be found in this temple dedicated to her." Dr. Michael Dante, program director of the Iraq Heritage Stabilization Program, an archaeologist at the University of Pennsylvania. The goddess Ishtar and Aphrodite are both represented by this exact 8-pointed star, which is called Lucifer, which shows how influential this goddess is among the ancient world. This is
it's called Lucifer?
a symbol, practically universal across the entire ancient world. Venus is depicted in Greco-Roman myths as being in love with Adonis, the mythological figure of Tammuz, a Mesopotamian god associated with fertility and vegetation, and the cycle of life and death has certain similarities with Adonis. Adonis being an adoption of Tammuz by the Greeks and Phoenicians. For the role of Adonis can be seen as an example of cultural influence and assimilation of mythological concepts, both connected to vegetation and seasons. Tammuz is often depicted as the dying and resurrected god, whose death in the winter leads to the withering of vegetation, while his return in the spring brings renewal and fertility. Adonis, similarly, is associated with the cycle of nature and is known for his beauty. His death and subsequent rebirth are tied to the seasons, his absence during the winter symbolizing barrenness of the earth, and his return in the spring signifying the renewal of life in nature. When Adonis dies in a hunting accident, Venus weeps over him, and her tears cause flowers to grow. Mourning and lamentation. Both Tammuz and Adonis are mourned.
That's crazy, right? Hold on 1 second. Let me let it play. I was going to say something, but I got to pause
by
it.
their respective goddesses, Venus and Ishtar. In Mesopotamian mythology, Ishtar mourns the death of Tammuz, descending into the underworld to rescue him. But in Greek mythology, Aphrodite mourns the death of Adonis and is depicted in a state of grief. The mourning of these goddesses is linked to the sadness and loss associated with the absence of their loved ones and the impact it has on the natural world. The book of Ezekiel shows how central and widespread this weeping over the dead god was. Ezekiel 8:14 says, "And then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw women sitting there, weeping for Tammuz." Tammuz and Adonis are often depicted as youthful and beautiful figures. Their beauty is celebrated and contributes to their status as objects of desire. Their association with youthful vitality and attractiveness connects them to themes of love. The similarities in their attributes and roles may have resonated with the Greeks, leading to the assimilation of Tammuz into their pantheon under the guise of Adonis. Bacchus, who's also known as Dionysus, is a deity from Greek mythology associated with the wine, agriculture, growing vines, death, fertility, ecstasy, and the arts. He is the prince and son of Zeus, the king of the gods. Tammuz, on the other hand, is a god from Mesopotamia, associated with fertility, vegetation, cycle of life and death, also a prince and the shepherd god. Both Bacchus and Tammuz are associated with fertility.
So basically, all these gods were meant to take care of the world, and a lot of them let themselves go by lust, I guess. I'm not sure. Let's keep.
And the abundance of nature.
What made them get destroyed is my biggest question. What happened to them? Where did they really go?
Bacchus is depicted with vines and grapes, symbolizing the growth and abundance of vineyards. Tammuz is also associated with vegetation and the cycle of fertility, where his death leads to the withering of plants, and rebirth, the regrowing of plants. Bacchus and Tammuz both have aspects of dying and returning to life. Bacchus has a myth called the Bacchae, where he is torn apart by titans, but is resurrected and achieves divine immortality. As mentioned earlier, Tammuz also has his own descent in return from the underworld. Both Bacchus and Tammuz are associated with ecstatic and celebratory rituals. Bacchus is known for his association with revelry, wine, and ecstatic state of his followers, known as the Bacchic frenzy or Dionysian rites. Tammuz is honored through rituals involving mourning and ecstatic celebrations in the ancient Mesopotamian festivals. These similarities between Bacchus and Tammuz reflect broader patterns found in ancient mythologies. Different cultures sought to explain and celebrate the cycles of nature, fertility, and the human experience itself. To return back to the topic of the supreme god, as Aranos parallels Anu, they both are succeeded in their kingship by the new gods that come after them. This could signify the ages of time and the inevitable evolution of constant, eternal renewal in nature, in progress, in society. Eventually,
So where does Jamuha come in the picture in this?
Marduk becomes the chief god of the Babylonian pantheon, and Saturn, a prominent figure in Roman mythology, both represented by the star Saturn in the sky, or planet Saturn. In Roman mythology, they share similarities in their mythologies, particularly in their roles as powerful deities and their associations with kingship. Saturn is the king of Elysium, where all the good souls dwell after death. Both Marduk and Saturn are considered supreme deities in their respective myths. Marduk is the head of the Babylonian pantheon, patron god of the city of Babylon. Saturn, also known as Saturnus in Latin, is one of the major gods of the Roman pantheon and had the biggest temple in Rome, where all...
Let me pause this right here real quick. I want to do this real quick because I don't want to get no strikes. So give me 1 second, guys. Let me put a poem in here. I am pausing it. Let me share the screen with y'all once more. Oh, I can't see it. Here we go. I apologize. So let me play this poem real quick.
Who are we? We're so ignorant to the facts. There's no loyalty left in this world. Don't need no new friends. Alone, looking at the mirror, asking, where's the loyalty, the respect, the moral in life? Who are we that we think that we can judge? Look around. If war came, we dropped like flies. That's how divided we are. Bullets fly in the air like the 4th of July. Now who we hitting? The babies crying, the adults running, while the kids dying? Now we got caskets no bigger than 3 feet lying underground. Heaven's playground getting full. God getting furious. No one notices. So much hate, not enough love given. No one will realize until it's them life shatters. We divided to the point we can't tell who is who, believing in an illusion that will destroy us all. We say we honor and respect our ancestors. Yet they gotta be rolling in circles in their grave. We should be ashamed. Instead, we're ignorant to the facts. Freedom is the only treasure that can't be bought with gold. In order to love someone else, you have to learn how to love yourself. We lost so many kings and queens to social media. Now it's a few left that can raise our young, right? So many people complaining. So many solutions underneath their nose. Yet they decide to give a blind eye. Who are we to judge? Can't we just come together? Y'all say the white man racist. So why can't we put our pride to the side and stop killing each other? You forget the youth watching? Let me take a step back. I forgot we live in a world that think celebrities need to raise our kids. Forgetting that it takes a village to raise our kids. The world is divided. Our kids are going missing or molested. Yet, that can't even bring us together. Maybe I'm tripping, but the solution is us. So many are ignorant to the fact. People are woke. They just don't care. So once again, who are we?
What you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not
Who are we, right? All right. Let's get back on topic. I apologize for that. I'm just trying to find different ways where I won't get struck or copyrighted. Thank you, guys.
the riches and money was located as the central bank of Rome.
Funny ads.
Marduk is credited with creating the world and establishing the order of the universe. He is depicted as a royal, heroic figure, embodying qualities of the divine king, while Saturn in Roman mythology is associated with the Golden Age, a mythical period of peace and prosperity, ruled by a virtuous king. He is also believed to have introduced agriculture and civilization to humanity. Both Marduk and Saturn are depicted as these particular powerful deities. Marduk's most famous myth is the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic in which he defeats the primordial goddess Tiamat, establishes his supremacy over the gods, while Saturn overthrows his father Uranus, personification of the heaven, to become the ruler of the cosmos. Both Marduk and Saturn have associations with time and chronology. Marduk is associated with the concept of time in the Enuma Elish as he divides the heavens and establishes the calendar, while Saturn in Roman mythology is the god of time, and he's associated with the concept of time as he's depicted with the scythe, symbolizing the passage of time. The parallels may arise from these shared themes and archetypes, as they're both identified with the same central location in the sky, being the planet Saturn. In Hindu mythology, it is Indra who plays this role. Both Jupiter and Indra are associated with thunder and lightning, just as Baal in Canaanite mythology is associated with thunder and lightning and is the rider on the clouds, just like Jupiter and Indra. And all three of these gods succeed a god that came before them. Jupiter, also known as Jove, is considered the king of the gods in Roman mythology and wields thunderbolts as his weapon, just as Indra and Baal, all these deities are depicted as wielding thunderbolts, riding on the clouds and having dominion over the forces of nature. Jupiter is revered as the supreme god, leader of the Olympians against the Titans, and brings justice and cosmic order, while Indra in Hinduism is the chief of the Devas against the Asuras, and also for justice and cosmic order. Due to all of this, the most ancient god, Anu, and the oldest mentioned by any surviving text, who influences Aranos, which becomes the Greek word for heaven itself, directly impacts religions today. Thank you for joining us in this captivating journey through the rich tapestry of Mesopotamian and Greek mythology, from the grandeur of the mighty gods like Anu and Zeus, to the intriguing tales of heroes like Enki, Prometheus, and the morning star Ishtar, and many others.
All right, so by watching this, right, we've seen about all the gods, and y'all heard one of my biggest questions that I had: why hide all this from me? Right? I got so many questions, just like fix this cap again, just like a lot of people do, right? I am curious, just like a lot of people are too, right? Why hide these chapters? Why try to take them away? Why keep us away from all this? Why in history they talk about all these other gods, right? But when it comes to the Bible specifically, they want to make it seem like it was just one God, right? Then they want to make us think like this God didn't have a wife or nothing like that. Why lie to us when at the end of the day, we're going to find out the truth, right? I've always asked my question. I've always asked, like, are aliens real? Do they exist? Yesterday I said it on the live, but they suspended that live until we figure out if my disclaimer works or not. But yesterday I asked a couple of the questions that I was curious about growing up, right? And I'm gonna ask them now. Like, now that I'm older and I know a little more about the Bible and stuff like that, I do wonder if what they're trying to make us think that these aliens are is what these angels are in the Bible. Because if you can see, they talk about in the Bible about falling angels. And when it comes to different, like Young Rios had a question, he's like, it's not in their Bible, it's not. But there's a reason why a lot of these chapters aren't in a lot of Bibles. And when you read certain Bibles, a lot of the stories are similar. See, I'm not sitting here picking sides. I'm not saying here, this is what you need to do. No, I'm not saying here telling y'all what to do. I'm here learning just the same. I'm learning just the same way that y'all are learning. I have questions the same way y'all have questions. I stand for something and I'm not falling for nothing. So if questions arise on something that I'm hearing, I'm going to ask it. So I kind of understand by reading these different chapters in these different Bibles, putting them in their timeline. So as I read a chapter, I'll go and I'll search this up that's mentioning, and I'm curious, I don't know about it, So that way I learn. And I don't know how many people do it like that, but when I'm reading, I'm like a little detective. I'll sit here, if I had the little board with the little pens and stuff like that, I would sit here, put the little red red line, let's put it like that, on each one, trying to connect the dots and everything. That's how I am. I try to connect the dots, and I'm trying to fill the missing holes from the stories that we've been told growing up. So I was kind of curious because growing up, I watched Hercules and all that. I read the little Bibles that they had, telling the kids about. Okay, this is the right one. Telling the kids about, the Moses, about the snake, about the guarding and all this. And yeah, they all rose questions. And until I got older, I started doing my own research and I started putting two and two together. And I'm here to let y'all know, listen, y'all got to do the same thing. Put two and two together. Y'all got to do your own research. Don't just go by what anybody says, because it's crazy, right? Me reading all this, I'm understanding a little more than what I did before. Because growing up, I was confused as shit when it came to the Bible. It got to the point where I said, I don't believe in nothing, because I thought I was really being lied to. Like, I would ask questions and people would come up with the weirdest, dumbest answers. So I started researching on my own. I'm entitled to. Y'all all entitled to. Like, a lot of people don't pay attention to this because it starts a lot of debate. We're not here for that. We're not trying to start a fight. We're not trying to argue. If anything, each one teach one. There might be something that I'm wrong about. There might be something I'm right about. There might be something that you're wrong about. There might be something that you're right about. There might be something that I know that you don't know. There might be something that you know that I don't know about. But like this, we all learn. Like, when it comes to Zeus and all that, like, I really thought that Zeus at one point was the real God, the main God. And Hades was the devil and all that shit because of the way the Bible went. So it's crazy that if we don't do our own research, we're not going to really gain the knowledge that we need to understand what's happening around us now. See, even in the Bible that talks about technology, it's been here the whole time, and I don't get tired of saying it. Allegedly, it's been here the whole time. And we're here to just give our opinions, our perspectives, because when you get online, you have to talk a certain way so that others don't get offended and you don't go against anybody, any type of platforms, community guide. So listen, let's hop on to the next one and let's talk about the three heavens. And like I told y'all, little by little, we're going to talk about it all. We're going to take our time and we're going to break it down. Blessings, Miss April Showers, blessings. And we're going to break it down. I know people, when they hop on lives like this, they get bored, they leave. But listen, I'm not going to sit here and just jump the gun and jump out the window. No, I'm going to break it down with y'all. I'm going to react with y'all. And I'm going to research with y'all. We all got our opinions. So like I said right now, I feel as though, and this is the reason why I'm doing these lives, I feel as though that what's going on right now is nothing more than just a distraction. It's something happening, but we're not going to know unless we sit here and we figure it out ourselves, because they're not going to directly tell us. They're going to tell us by throwing out clues, by throwing out hints. And then a lot of people, think that they're detectives, but they're not. And when we do podcasts like this, it's good for people to talk. It's good for people to interact. Like, it's crazy that a lot of, channels here on YouTube have gotten to the point where people are scared to hop on podcasts and speak their mind. Don't be ashamed. Listen, I told y'all, and I'm going to always tell y'all, I'm not ashamed. I believe in God, nothing more, nothing less. Something created us here. I want to know about my creator. I want to know why we were here. I want to know what is our purpose on this earth. Is it just to live, laugh, and die? I don't know. We probably do got a mission. Oh, it's cool, Miss April Showers. Like, listen, I'm here to bring awareness. I would love for more people to come and speak and talk. But there, a lot of people, when it comes to topics like this, I know they're going to try to avoid it. So listen, I'm still going to speak on it because I feel as though, like, all right, I understand the simulations. I understand, people's concepts and people's ideas, about the simulations, about could this world be a reality, but right now I'm holding a lighter. You see where I'm coming from? It's real. I can light it. I'm holding this bottle. I'm drinking water. I taste it, right? That's not a simulation. A simulation is like, I don't know if people have watched that show called Black Mirror on Netflix, and it has an episode there, and it's called Overseas, right? But these two guys are actually out in outer space in the ship, right? But down on Earth is a replica of their body, is a robot, right? And while they're on this ship, doing what they're working and doing what they're doing outer space, right? They lay down on this bed and they put this little keychain that they got into this machine, right? And they'll go to sleep. And their consciousness is transferred to this robot. And they could actually live in the real world, being them up there. They're not dead. It's not a clone where they simulated somebody's brain, transfer somebody's conscience into the clone and stuff like that. Or I would say one of these things that they got that they're born from the womb and it's exactly you. They grow up to be just like you, basically another form of a clone. But yeah, there's a couple types of clones. I was confused until I was recently doing my research, and I was like, yo, what the fuck? I thought it was only one type of clone. But when y'all do y'all research, y'all will see that like there's different types of robots, the ones that look like us, I could just keep going. All that is in the Bible. All of it is in the Bible. And